"Don't you want to try the coffee I made especially for you, honey?" my husband, Aaron, asked with an odd smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. I was sitting at my brother-in-law Mark's elegant dining table in his Denver home, where we gathered for our monthly family brunch. The coffee cup in front of me had a strange, almost metallic smell that made my stomach turn. My name is Emily, and at 29, I never imagined I'd be questioning whether my own husband was trying to poison me. But after 3 years of marriage and countless incidents of accidental food poisoning, I had learned to be cautious, especially around Mark. She had a way of orchestrating situations that left me sick or humiliated, always with that same innocent smile Aaron was wearing now. "How thoughtful of you," I replied, forcing a smile while my mind raced. The aroma wafting from the cup was unlike any coffee I'd smelled before. It reminded me of the time last month when I'd ended up in urgent care after drinking tea at Mark's house. The doctors couldn't explain my symptoms, and Mark had insisted she'd made the tea exactly the same way she made her own. Mark watched me intently from across the table, absently stirring her own untouched coffee. "Aaron's become quite the barista lately," she said with a smirk. "He's been practicing different brewing methods just for you." The way she emphasized "for you" sent chills down my spine. I had noticed Aaron spending more time at Mark's house lately, claiming they were planning a surprise for our upcoming anniversary. But something felt off. The whispered conversations that stopped when I entered the room, the strange texts I'd glimpsed on his phone, and now this coffee with its peculiar scent. I lifted the cup, pretending to take a sip while studying their expressions. Aaron and Mark exchanged a quick glance that confirmed my suspicions. Making a show of checking my phone, I stood up abruptly. "Oh, would you look at that? I need to make a quick call for work." "Mark, would you mind if I use your study?" As I walked past Mark's place setting, I deliberately stumbled, quickly switching our coffee cups in the confusion of studying myself. "I'm so sorry," I exclaimed, straightening up. "I'm such a klutz." Mark waved off my apology with a tight smile. "Just try not to break anything in the study." I nodded and hurried away, my heart pounding. Through the study's doorway, I could still see them at the table. Now I just had to wait and watch. From the study doorway, I watched Mark lift the coffee cup to her lips, and my stomach clenched with anxiety. Part of me wanted to stop her, to warn her, but I needed to know the truth. I'd spent too many nights in emergency rooms, too many hours doubled over in pain, always after sharing meals with them. It wasn't always like this. When I first met Aaron at a friend's wedding in Denver 3 years ago, he was charming and attentive. Mark had seemed welcoming too, inviting me to family gatherings and offering to help plan our wedding. But looking back, I should have noticed the red flags, the way she would accidentally spill things on my dress at important events, or how my food always seemed to have extra seasoning when she helped cook. The incident started small, an upset stomach here, a mild allergic reaction there. Aaron always had an excuse ready. Maybe it was something you ate earlier, or you must be coming down with something, but the pattern was becoming clear. The worst was 2 months ago when I ended up hospitalized after eating breakfast at their house. The doctors found traces of something in my system they couldn't identify, but Aaron convinced everyone I must have taken some expired medication. I gripped the door frame, watching as Mark took another sip of the coffee. Aaron was typing on his phone, seemingly unconcerned. My own untouched cup sat cold on the table where I'd left it, the metallic smell still lingering in my nose, making me shudder. A slight tremor in Mark's hand caught my attention. She set down the cup, her face suddenly pale. "Aaron," she said, her voice shaking. "Something's wrong." Aaron looked up, his expression changing from confusion to horror as he realized which cup she was drinking from. He jumped up, knocking over his chair. "Mark, what's happening?" Mark's hands were trembling violently now. I feel." She tried to stand but stumbled, grabbing the edge of the table for support. "Aaron, what did you put in that coffee?" I stepped out of the study, my phone already recording. Aaron was beside Mark now, his face ashen. "That wasn't supposed to be your cup," he whispered, but in the silence of the dining room, his words carried clearly. Mark's eyes widened with realization and fear. "Call an ambulance," she gasped, sliding to the floor. "I can't," I said, dialing 911 immediately. My hands steady despite the chaos unfolding before me. Yes, we need an ambulance at 7325 Birchwood Drive. My sister-in-law appears to be having a severe reaction to something in her coffee. She's conscious but experiencing tremors. As I spoke to the dispatcher, Mark's eyes locked onto mine. The usual cold calculation in her gaze was replaced by raw fear. "Emily," she gasped. "You switched." "Ma'am, the ambulance is on its way," the dispatcher assured me. "Please stay on the line." Aaron was growing more frantic by the second. "Mark, what's happening?" "That wasn't supposed to. I mean, it wasn't meant for you." Mark snapped through gritted teeth. "This is all your fault. You said it would just make her sick enough to miss the meeting next week. You promised it wouldn't be traced." My blood ran cold. The meeting next week, the one where I was scheduled to present my proposal for a major client, was the same account Mark had been trying to land for months at her competing firm. Everything started clicking into place. "The tea last month," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. "The breakfast incident 2 months ago, those weren't accidents, were they?" Mark's face contorted with another wave of pain. "The tea was supposed to keep you home during the presentation, but you went anyway." She clutched her stomach, doubling over. "Aaron said we just needed to discredit you, make clients think you were unreliable." The sound of sirens filled the air outside. I stepped aside to let the paramedics work as they loaded Mark onto a stretcher. I stopped recording and sent the video to my private email, then to my lawyer. Aaron stood frozen, watching as his carefully constructed plan crumbled around him. "I'll ride with her to the hospital," I told the paramedics, my voice firm. "After all, I need to make sure my sister-in-law gets the proper treatment." I met Aaron's terrified gaze. "And I'm sure the doctors will be very interested in knowing exactly what was in that coffee."